It may look calm outside, almost peaceful in fact, but don't let that fool you, because across Canada right now, the atmosphere is quietly shifting, and over the next 24 hours, subtle changes are going to define the weather story from Ontario to British Columbia, and all the way up into the Arctic. This is not a dramatic, headline-grabbing storm system, but what makes this setup important is how winter is still holding its ground, resisting the seasonal transition, and setting the stage for a slow, uneven shift into spring. If you're in cities like Toronto, Ottawa, or Montreal, the day may begin with a sense of stability, clear skies, crisp air, and that familiar late winter chill that hits you the moment you step outside. Temperatures are low, the air feels sharp, and everything seems quiet. But that quiet is temporary because what we're seeing is the leading edge of a broader atmospheric transition where high pressure begins to weaken and cloud cover gradually builds in. As the day progresses across Ontario and Quebec, that clear sky will slowly give way to increasing clouds. It's not a fast change, not something you notice minute by minute, but by the afternoon and into the evening, the sky becomes more layered, more muted, and the sunlight starts to fade behind a thin veil of cloud. This is a classic pattern when colder air remains locked in near the surface, while milder, moisture-laden air begins to move in above it. The result is not immediate precipitation, but a gradual thickening of clouds, signaling that the atmosphere is evolving. Despite this change, conditions remain relatively calm. Winds are not particularly strong, and there is no major storm system organizing in the immediate term. However, the cold is persistent. Even during the warmest part of the day, temperatures struggle to climb significantly, and once the sun sets, the chill quickly returns, reminding everyone that winter is not quite ready to let go. Moving westward into the prairies, including Manitoba and Saskatchewan, the story becomes a bit more dynamic, though still subtle on the surface. Here, cloud cover is more dominant from the start, and the atmosphere carries just enough moisture to produce occasional light snow patches. These are not heavy snowfalls, not the kind that disrupt travel significantly, but rather intermittent flurries that drift through at times, adding a fresh dusting in some areas while leaving others untouched. What really stands out in this region is the wind chill. Even when the thermometer suggests manageable temperatures, the wind has a way of cutting through layers and making it feel much colder than it actually is. This is a key factor in the prairies, where open landscapes allow winds to move freely, enhancing the oceanic of cold and making outdoor conditions harsher than they might appear at first glance. Meanwhile, over in British Columbia, the contrast is noticeable and important. This region is experiencing relatively milder conditions compared to the rest of the country, and that difference is driven by the influence of the Pacific Ocean. Coastal areas are seeing more cloud cover, and in some places, there is the possibility of light rain, especially closer to the shoreline. This is a sign that the air mass here is fundamentally different, less dominated by Arctic cold and more influenced by maritime moisture. Temperatures are higher, the air feels less biting, and while it may not be sunny or clear, it is certainly more comfortable than what is being experienced further east. This west-to-east temperature gradient is a key feature of Canada's weather right now, highlighting how different air masses are competing for dominance as the country transitions between seasons. And then there is northern Canada, where the story is far more intense and far less forgiving. Here, extreme cold continues to dominate, with temperatures plunging well below what most people in southern regions would consider tolerable. This is the heart of winter, still fully intact, with conditions that include not only very low temperatures, but also the potential for blowing snow and reduced visibility at times. The Arctic air mass remains firmly in place, and there is little indication of rapid change in the immediate future. This region serves as a reminder that while spring may be on the calendar, the reality on the ground can be very different depending on where you are. What ties all of these regional stories together is the broader atmospheric pattern that is currently in play. Canada is essentially caught between seasons, with winter refusing to fully retreat and spring not yet strong enough to take over. High-pressure systems that bring clear and stable conditions are beginning to weaken, while lower-pressure systems and milder air masses are slowly starting to make their presence felt. However, this transition is happening gradually, and over the next 24 hours, the most noticeable changes will be in cloud cover and subtle temperature shifts rather than dramatic weather events. From an expert perspective, this kind of pattern is significant because it often sets the stage for more active weather in the days ahead. When you see clear skies giving way to clouds in central regions, light snow appearing in the prairies, and milder, wetter conditions along the west coast, it usually indicates that the atmosphere is becoming more energized. The contrast between cold and mild air masses creates instability, and while that instability is not producing major storms right now, it has the potential to do so in the near future. For now, though, the story remains one of quiet persistence. Cold air holding on, clouds gradually increasing, and the entire country inching slowly toward a seasonal shift that still feels just out of reach. So over the next 24 hours, while there may not be a major storm to track or a dramatic weather event to watch, the changes that are happening are still important. They are subtle, but they are meaningful, and they tell us that the atmosphere is in motion, preparing for what comes next. Whether you're stepping out into the cold, watching clouds roll in, or feeling the difference between regions, this is a moment of transition, and in Canada, that transition is never simple.